Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to call the City Council public hearing to order here at 6:45. Roll call, please.
Mayor Copeland is absent. Tom Baylor? Tom Baylor, are you on?
Yes, here.
Kathy?
Oh, Kathy Sherman? Yes. Jeff Guard?
Yes.
Melina Meyer?
Here.
Ann Schaefer is absent. David Allison?
Here.
David Gleason?
I'm here.
That's a quorum of council.
Okay, so for under this public hearing, we have one resolution, Resolution 06-20-24. It's on page 13 of our regular council meeting packet, and it's a resolution of the Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, setting a mill rate for the 2020 tax year. And for people that are listening to YouTube, you can call in on the 253-6202 phone line, and our on hold feature is not working right now. So if you call that number, just ring, and then as soon as it comes through, you can have your comment or statement for the council. I don't know if we have anybody online, so it might just be a little bit silent here online for a little bit, but I'll restate that phone number. It's 253-6202.
You can just put us in a recess probably until, and then as soon as we get a call. you can come.
Okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll go to recess, and if we get a call, then we will patch it through and resume the public hearing.
So why don't you just say we're back in? Oh.
All right, we're in the public hearing. If you could state your name for the record and your statement regarding Resolution 06-20-24 for the setting the mill rate.
Thank you. This is Barb Jewell, mile 2.2 White Shed Road. And I think I have more of a question that I'll look forward to hearing be addressed in the discussion in the regular meeting. As the resolution identifies, hello, I'm talking.
Yeah, you're live still here. It sounds like your YouTube is playing in the back.
It is, and it says you're in recess, so I apologize. I didn't think that.
Oh, sorry. We were just doing recess until a call came in and then went back live. There is a delay there, so you can go ahead and resume your comment.
Thank you. So again, a question that I hope to hear discussed during the discussion on the regular meeting. As identified in the information provided in the packet, there's a difference between what's currently funded and what has been requested by various entities, including the school district. And there have been a number of items that the City Council and the administration have said they do not have revenues to cover. They're worried about revenues this upcoming year. They expect significant decreases in certain revenue streams, And so I'm wondering what the thinking was behind decreasing the opportunity for revenue with the property tax revenue stream, even just holding it steady. It looks like at the proposed 11.08 rate, the recommendation is to drop it by 3/4 of a mil. And I'm just surprised in the landscape of expecting significant decreases in other revenue streams, looking at decreasing that revenue stream as well, or at least the opportunity that that revenue stream presents. And as a property owner, I understand the implication to my wallet, and yet holding them steady doesn't seem like a terrible option. So thank you for the opportunity to comment on this, and I appreciate everyone's hard work at looking at property taxes and where to provide relief and how. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling in. All right, doesn't seem like we have any other calls right now, so we'll just go ahead and do the recess again, and if we get another call, we'll come out of recess. end the public hearing. And for the public who might be listening in on YouTube, if you do want to make a comment about the 2020 tax mill, you can also do so on our regular meeting that we're having following this during the audience comments. So I'm adjourning the public hearing if there's no objection from council. All right, we're adjourned for our public hearing. And we'll just move right into our regular city council meeting. So I call this regular city council meeting to order on June 3rd at 7 p.m. And if you will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
And to the
Republic,
republic,
one
one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Copeland is absent. Tom Baylor,
Here.
Kathy Sherman,
Here.
Jeff Guard,
Here.
Melina Meyer,
Here.
Ann Schaefer is absent. David Allison,
Here.
and David Gleason.
I'm here.
That's a quorum of council.
Okay, and I just wanted to state the phone number for the public to be able to call in on. That's coming up. YouTube, there is a slight delay, but the phone number is 253-6202. And when you call, the on hold's not working, so just keep calling, and when we get to the part for the audience comments, we'll patch those lines through, and you have 3 minutes for your comments. And then just for everybody on the phone who's in the room is Helen and Susan, and then we have Jason manning the phones. Leif is there with the manning YouTube, and then we have Ken, our finance director, also in the room. And I believe Hannah Sanders is going to be joining us on the phone for some reports. Is there any objection? Oh, thank you, Dr. Sanders. Is there any objections from council for approving this irregular agenda? All right, hearing none, we'll move to disclosures of conflicts of interest and ex parte communications. Is there anything that council needs to disclose?
Vice Mayor, this is Councilman Gleason. I had a conversation with Greg Meyer about item number 12. I was going to ask him a question on the funding that we're giving the hospital. And I just didn't want to pop it at the meeting. I wanted to give him some time to think of an answer, but it doesn't sound like he's here tonight, so I'm not sure if that's going to matter.
Okay, yeah. I don't know how that exactly fits into it. Maybe with CCMC is what you're discussing with, but I think you could just have that part of the discussion when that item comes up. I don't see any conflict in that.
Is he calling in then?
I don't think that he was set to, but I guess without knowing what the conversation was about, I don't really see how it would be ex parte communications in any way.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is.
Well, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't doing anything wrong, so.
Okay, thank you. Any other council members? All right, we're going to move on to communications by and petitions from visitors, guest speakers. We have incident management team, COVID-19 update. Dr. Hannah Sanders, do you want to go ahead and give us an update on the medical team part of that?
Sure. The medical team continues and kind of unchanged over the last couple of weeks. We're offering testing 5 days a week. We continue to have excellent testing capacity. We have access to more tests should we need them. However, at this time, we don't anticipate needing to order more tests. We do feel like we're getting relatively good surveillance in the community and will be able to identify cases should they arrive. We have been paying very close attention to the state mandates, which have recently
change to allow testing strategy for people that do not want to do the 14-day quarantine and would like to have a test to get out of quarantine. We are working with the city and with Olanka to offer, again, the 5-day-a-week testing, but also have airport testing on days that we don't have the 5-day-a-week testing available. The medical team's recommendation to everyone, whether you do the 72 hours prior to travel and get that test done, our recommendation is that everybody get tested after they arrive in Cordova, approximately 2 to 4 days after that arrival, just so that we can ensure that we capture any infections that could have been caught in transit for while the people are traveling and can keep our community safe.
Okay, thank you. And maybe I'll just go down this council list if you have any questions. And since first person on my list too is Kathy Sherman, she might be able to fill in a little bit too, also with the incident management team. So Kathy, any questions or comments?
Hi, good evening, Dr. Saunders. Thank you. I watched the governor's press conference today, so I kind of trying to digest all of that. But I appreciate what you offered, and I don't think I have any questions at this time, but thank you.
Councilmember Allison?
Nothing else, thank you.
Councilmember Gleason?
Yeah, I'd just say thanks to Hannah, and I think that's a great idea to request for people to get double tested. Thank you.
Councilmember Baylor?
Yes, since I fall into that category, who do I call to get tested as I arrive in state?
So it depends on what day you're arriving. Monday through Friday, we have testing available at either the Olanka clinic or at the hospital. On the weekends, we are going to have somebody out at the airport either giving information on the time that we're available or potentially collecting swabs. Again, the airport collection is going to be something that we're working to arrange with the city, but also something that is not necessarily the best time frame for getting that test. We would prefer if people waited 2 to 4 days to get the test in the event that they did get catch the virus while they were traveling. Anybody that can't fit into our regular testing times can call the Blanco or call the hospital, and we will arrange testing outside of the clinic. And I just those hours. I do want to add this testing that we have available in Cordova and the way we're rolling it out, it exceeds testing that anybody can get anywhere else, particularly in the lower 48. I'm getting a lot of comments of people just very impressed with how quickly we're able to get our testing out, including when we talk to the state Department of Health, as they're rolling this out across other communities, they're asking other communities to look at how we're doing this. So I think Cordova, and this hasn't just been the medical team, it's been everybody working together, has really been able to roll out a very successful testing strategy. So hopefully that can remain successful, but we do have access to any testing that we need.
Okay, thanks. And my expectation was to wait a day or two and then get tested. And then I guess I'd make one more comment, is I think the traveling part's probably the safest part. The airlines and the airports are doing an outstanding job of keeping everything clean and sanitized. So I actually think traveling's pretty safe. So thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Jeff Gard?
No, just thanks and no questions right now. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is audience comments regarding agenda items. So again, that public call-in number is 253-6202, and there is a delay for YouTube and our actual meeting here. So if you call that number and it keeps ringing, just keep letting it ring, and then if you can't get a hold of us, just call back that number. Our on hold is not working right now, but if you keep letting it ring, we will answer it in the appropriate time. We'll see if we have any. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any, but Jason will let me know if there is. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the chairpersons and representatives of boards and commissions. Since we have Dr. Sanders on the line here, I think you were going to give the CCMC Authority Board update.
Yeah. So CCMC has received 4 large distributions from federal sources from federal HHS distribution. We do expect that over the course of the rest of the year, we are going to have some revenue shortfalls that are not related to COVID-19 funding. We're trying to be very careful not to commingle our COVID-19 funds with our pre-existing revenue challenges. That being said, it does look like our budget is going to be, we're going to be able to support ourselves through September 30th for sure, and potentially into the rest of the year. However, if we do find that the fourth quarter that we have some budget shortfalls, we will let you guys know as soon as we have that information. Other than looking at our COVID funding and our budget, the hospital continues to aggressively work to update our equipment and supplies in response to COVID. I feel that at the end of this, we are going to be in a very good position with the amount of equipment that we've been able to replace and update. That's all I have today.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for your role as the CEO of the hospital and also all the work that you're doing as a doctor and also with the incident management team. So I just wanted to thank you because I know you're in a lot of roles right now and we really appreciate it. I'm going to move down the council list. So if you guys have any questions about for the CCMC, Councilmember Kathy Sherman.
No questions at this time. Thanks, Melina.
Councilmember Gleason.
Yeah, my question that I asked Greg was related to that, and I was just curious if you guys are willing to give up a little bit of the funding that we've budgeted for you. And you don't have to answer that right now, but that was the question I had, because we could definitely, if you guys don't need all of it, we could definitely put it to use in other areas. So if you could come up with, an amount that you can live without and let us know, or let Helen know, that would be great.
Certainly, and that's our intent, is to position ourselves as best we can. A lot of funding has come in quickly, and we're making sure that we understand how we can appropriately spend that money so that we don't want to risk having to return it because it gets used on non-COVID related things. And we have a brand new CFO and then myself over the course of the last 3 weeks. So we are trying to evaluate and look at those things as quickly as we can, and we certainly will let Helen and you guys know. And for right now, I think that we certainly don't need any third quarter distribution or anything additional right now. And the fourth quarter, any additional funds, then I don't anticipate any large items to come up. So I'm hopeful, and we'll give you a dollar amount soon.
Okay. Thank you, Hannah, and welcome back.
Thanks.
Councilmember Allison.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Councilmember Baylor.
No, just thank you to Hannah and your family. Appreciate you stepping up and working with us on this. Thanks.
And Councilmember Guard.
No questions here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sanders, for that CCMC update and also for the incident management team update. I don't know if we have anybody on the line for the school board. Give it a second here.
Yes, this is Barb Jewell. I'm here.
Oh, perfect. Could you give us a school board update?
Yes, and thank you for that. as you all probably are aware, the school year has ended. It was a very bittersweet ending to a difficult year, in part because we said goodbye to long-term staff member and principal Gail Groff and Pam Jones. It was very hard to not be able to do that in person, and they certainly had wished that they could have done that with their students. The administration's been working very hard, working with BEAD to develop multiple strategies for opening in the fall, all dependent on the different scenarios that might present themselves in terms of state mandates and conditions with COVID. We will keep you updated as those plans become more specific. But certainly everyone in the administration and the board is paying very close attention to how to do that safely and effectively. At our last board meeting, which was a special meeting, we had a couple of items on the table. One was certainly to decrease our expenses related to computer infrastructure and devices. And I think I mentioned that in the context of our recent budget request to the City Council, which was not fully funded. And I certainly understand, and the board understands, the shaky revenue forecast for Cordova. And what we heard in the conversation at the last board meeting was certainly that the City Council intends to revisit that when you make your 2021 budget. So we wanted to take the opportunity to reiterate that that request was based on need, not want. As the superintendent stated in response to Councilwoman Sherman's request for information, that money is intended to fund a position because of the increase in the number of students at the elementary school. We will have to fund that position, which puts our fund balance in a fairly precarious position, and look forward to speaking with you further about that in January, and again, wanting to make sure that that request is solidly in front of you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'm going to go down our councilman's list if there's any comments or questions for the on the school board. Councilmember Allison?
No, I don't have any questions or comments. Thank you.
Councilmember Gleason?
Just thank Barb for making a report.
Councilmember Sherman?
Thanks, Barb, for calling in. I just want to reconfirm that we were talking $70,000 for that position. Is that correct?
Yes, and to be very clear, the position costs more than $70,000, but that's what it would take to help us cover it.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Baylor?
No questions.
Councilmember Guard?
Nothing here, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Barb, for that report.
Thank you.
It's summer vacation for the students, so we have no student council rep. And then the next is approval of consent calendar. Is there anybody that wants to remove that one item?
And if you want to add the minutes in there, you can, if there are no comments or changes to the minutes. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and add the minutes to the consent calendar. So if there's any comments on items 4A or number 5, the minutes. Hearing none, we'll do a roll call.
Melina Meyer,
Yes.
Ann Schaefer is absent. David Gleason,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
David Allison,
Yes.
Jeff Guard,
Yes,
Tom Baylor. Tom Baylor on the consent calendar.
Yes.
Okay. The consent calendar is approved.
Okay, reports of officers, mayor's report. He didn't leave anything with me, but he might be calling in, so we might be going back to the mayor's report later on in the meeting. City manager's report.
I just have two things. The governor did just release the latest travel mandate. As you heard Dr. Sanders mention, we anticipated that travel from out of state would start being allowed in state with certain health requirements, and the IMT and the medical team is fully prepared to implement that. And I think, as Dr. Sanders indicated, we're one of the few communities, small communities, that has the capacity to do the testing. So we're well set up to make sure that individuals coming into Cordova are healthy and aren't going to spread COVID. So we'll keep everyone posted on that, but I think we're finally at a place now where we will hopefully not expect any more mandates coming from the governor, and we'll be able to settle into rules and processes that the community can digest and that all of us can implement. So thank everyone for their patience on that. The second piece is we did get CARES funding, a commitment from the state, and council will ask of you to have a work session next week to identify how those funds will be allocated to the benefit of our community. Right now, what we are doing as staff is going through all of the work we've done over the last 3 months, really, to prepare for COVID, so staff-related costs and other things. We are also looking at all the health mandates and identifying the things that are recommended or required for reopening of our city facilities, the public-facing city facilities like library, museum, pool, gyms, city hall, this building. So we will need to retrofit protective measures, protective devices, protective things in these spaces to make sure that both staff and public are going to be able to be safe in our facilities. So we'll have a number for you on that, and then there'll be some number left over that council will be able to have a conversation about whether they want to do, what kind of things that they want to do to benefit our community and help everyone out. So we'll be getting a packet out to all of you for conversation in a work session next week. And that will do for me.
All right, thank you. City clerk's report.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay. And I'll just go through my list for council for questions for either one of those two reports. Councilmember Garn?
No questions, no comments, thank you.
Councilmember Allison?
Yeah, just thanks, Ellen, for all the work you guys are doing. Appreciate it. And Susan as well.
Councilmember Sherman?
No questions, but again, thanks to everyone at the city for all they're doing.
Councilmember Gleason?
Just thanks to the staff. That's it.
And then Councilmember Baylor?
No questions.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the correspondence. We had one email. Is there any council members' comments on that before we move on? All right, hearing none, ordinance and resolutions. Item number 11, we have ordinance 1188. It's amending our tax code to align with what we had previously passed on a previous ordinance. I'll move to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second. I have nothing really to say about this, except it sounds like it's, after reading it through it, that it's housekeeping to get what we had passed earlier in line with our tax code, and it seemed like maybe government entities weren't included in our tax code before, so getting that cleaned up, I think, is a good thing. So Councilmember Guard, any comments on your second?
Nope, just housekeeping. Just clean it up and move on.
All right, and then starting at my list here, Councilmember Gleason,
Yeah, nothing.
Councilmember Baylor,
No, I support it.
Councilmember Sherman,
No, no questions or comments, thank you.
and then Councilmember Allison.
Support, thank you.
Okay, and can we have a roll call vote, please?
On ordinance 1188 for first reading, David Allison,
Yes.
Melina Meyer,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Jeff Guard,
Yes?
David Gleason,
Yes.
Tom Baylor,
Yes.
and Ann Schaefer is absent. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, item number 12, resolution 06-20-24, setting our mill rate for the 2020 tax year for property tax. I'll move it. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All right, we got a first and a second. I have no comments about it. Councilmember Guard?
Just to comment on one of the comments that were made on it during the public hearing. This is a stable and level dollar amount that we've been budgeting for the last couple of years. The mill rate itself may change a little bit, but the total dollars raised by taxable properties has stayed level. So it may seem that things are going down, but they're not. Values of the property went up, so the mill rate went down.
Okay, Councilmember Gleason?
Yeah, I guess it's, if we do get some money back, if we don't use all that 600,000, if they don't take it all, does that change anything?
I might be able to answer that, but I'll let our city manager.
So at this point, you've passed a budget, which is what we're working with. So if, for instance, CCMC doesn't need all the resources that were budgeted, then those resources would be available for council to redirect. And it would require a budget amendment of some kind or another. It could be used to cover revenue shortfalls if that comes to pass. It could be used to cover increases that departments or, for instance, the school district has asked for. So I think what we've all kind of feel strongly about right now is there's a lot of unknowns. We will have a better sense of where we stand when the second quarter sales tax revenues come in and we have a better sense of how the fishing season's going. I know our raw fish tax is from last year. So that will be a stable number, and it's really, it's the sales tax number since we're just emerging from basically having the whole community shut down and no retail. So we'll have a better sense of that probably mid-July, and we'll keep you posted.
I think I would just kind of add to that a little bit too, that the mill rate or our property tax isn't dedicated to funding the hospital or the school. I think that breakdown is just kind of a helpful breakdown to understand the kind of costs that our property tax and sales tax covers. So just kind of a note there that our taxes aren't necessarily dedicated besides our new fish tax that we did.
Okay, so this number that we have in our packet is valid either way. So that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Baylor?
No comment.
Councilmember Sherman?
My questions just got answered, so thank you, Vice Mayor Meyer, and also to the manager. That explained a lot, and it's nice having a little bit of breathing room right now. So thank you.
And Councilmember Allison.
Yeah, I support the resolution as written, but I do have a clarifying question for either Ken or Helen, I guess, for I'll ask Helen, and if she wants to defer to Ken, but just want to verify that in our budget, we budgeted for half of the bond debt reimbursement from the state, which the governor vetoed. So we budgeted that one on as far as the governor's, but I think we budgeted $108,000 for state revenue sharing, which also got vetoed. If I'm not misinformed on that, can you clarify that for me?
I need to get you the numbers. We did get confirmation of certain things. There were some cuts by the state, and I don't have those numbers in front of me, and neither does Ken at the moment. So if you don't mind, we'll get that back to council.
Okay, not a problem. Either way, I would support this resolution. I'm pretty sure that the revenue sharing got vetoed. So I think we're budgeted right on for the bond debt reimbursement, but we're going to be short on the revenue sharing. But we may be short or long on one of the other things as well. So it's really a guess. It's all budgeting really is a educated guess on this. I don't believe that we can jack up the local property taxes in this situation. They're hurting just like everybody else is hurting in this community, and I don't think that we need to balance everything on the backs of the 40% of the people who are property owners in this town. So I support the resolution as is, getting the revenue that we budgeted for, and going from there on the rest of it. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other council comment before we move to a roll call vote? All right, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
David Allison?
Yes.
Ann Schaefer is absent. Jeff Guard?
Yes.
Melina Meyer?
Yes.
David Gleason?
Yes.
Tom Baylor?
Yes.
Kathy Sherman?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, for under unfinished business, we have item number 13, which is the city land disposal to Sheridan Joyce. Looks like that it was recommended that we move on to item 15 to go into executive session. We have some information that staff wants to present to us. So if a council member wants to make the motion to go into executive session. Or to just go into item number 13. Either one of those motions.
Yeah, Vice Mayor Meyer?
Yep, go ahead, Allison.
Oh. Yeah, I would suggest that we just continue on. I don't know if we need a motion for that, but I would say we move the executive session to the end so people who aren't involved. I don't know sure anybody who's not involved is here anyway, so but if you need a motion, I would move that we postpone item 13 to item 15 and move along with the agenda.
Okay, so do you want to have the item 13 perhaps under item 15, so we go into executive session, and then if council wants to point direction, or if we want to push it to staff and have it come up on a next meeting? Would that work?
Yeah.
All right.
I think item 13 is item 15, isn't it?
It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah, they kind of go together.
Yeah, I'd say after the executive session, we can come back out and give direction to staff if there is any outside of executive session.
All right, sounds good to me. Is there any objection from council? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to pending agenda. I heard the city manager perhaps having work session.
Yeah, did you mean next week or before the next meeting in 2 weeks? And/or are we having a special meeting next week at noon? That's a council question, I guess.
So I guess I'll ask council first about next week. So June 10th, is there a will of council to have a noon special meeting like we have been, or or if the manager would like to have that be our work session time during that special meeting?
I think if council is, the reason to do a special meeting next week was if you were wanting to do a pause, which our rules allow us to do, before adopting the state's latest travel recommendations, we could do that. But it sounds as though there's general agreement that we are ready to proceed and we won't need that meeting. Seems there was something else.
Well, wait a minute, because if do they have to act to agree? Or does it automatically pause for 10 days?
It doesn't well, I guess you guys could act to agree tonight, or we could do it quickly at a special meeting next week.
I don't know
That's
which
right,
way.
we have to.
But and we also had possibly that very long document that Holly worked on, which was...
Right. So I think right now what's driving me to have a work session of some kind, and when that happens is up to council, but there's a ticking clock because the money that has been distributed has to be fully expended by December 31st of 2020 on COVID-related items. They're distributing the money in 3 phases. You get your first distribution, which we got. It's around 1.7 million, I believe, somewhere in there. We have to expend 90% of it before we can get another distribution. So it would be very helpful to have guidance and direction from council, given that we're basically down to 6 months to spend a lot of money, and it has to be committed and deployed. So there is a time crunch that I really would like some guidance from council on. So work session is a priority. The other document that Susan was talking about is a confirmation of our planning around our COVID response. And we could probably put that off a week because the use of the CARES funding will be another document that will drive that particular conversation. So if we can do a work session, we'll be specifically talking about the CARES funds to make sure we're meeting council's expectations of how those resources get deployed quickly.
So I guess my question for you, and also Ken in that sense, would Wednesday at noon a special, I guess it'd be a special work session?
Well, a work
or call
session.
it a special meeting, and if something else came up regarding this travel related, it could be added to it. If that's enough time for you guys to come up with
We're
documents for us.
Yes.
Is there any objection from council of having a noon special meeting that has the CARES funding, and then if there is another last minute addition regarding the travel mandate, we could address it then?
It would be a work session or a special.
Well, I think what Melina's saying is let's call it a special, have that as a discussion item.
Okay.
But just in case, because I actually do have a quickie mobile restaurant that I might want to throw on there also.
Okay.
And if anything else comes up that needs action, if it's a special meeting, it'll just be smoother.
If there's no objection from council. I'm not hearing any.
Vice Mayor Meyer.
Yep, go ahead.
This is Councilman Sherman. I just would like to, yes, I'm in favor of that because Still digesting on the travel mandates, and I'm not sure I have any problem with them, but I'm still digesting that, and I think it would behoove council to deal with the CARES funding quickly, or as soon as possible. So I think next week is good, and then maybe we can start to get back onto regular tracks.
Would be nice.
All right, sounds good to me too. Same train of thought there.
Vice Mayor, this Councilman Gleason, so is it only going to be the CARES Act money on there? Is that what you're saying? Or I think there should be, do we have public comment in those meetings?
Yes.
I think we should have something on there so people can comment about, like businesses can comment about the new mandate and what they would like to see from us.
I believe for all of our agendas, we've been having that incident management COVID item as a presentation. So we could probably just go ahead and add it there. And if we have an update, sounds like there's some digestion of the newest mandate that needs to be. So maybe that could be presented to council. I think that's a good item to put on there.
Another good reason to have it as a special is that there's 2 spots for public comment.
Yeah, that's a good point, to give the public multiple opportunities to call in with the system we have right now. Any other council members' agenda items?
Yeah, Vice Mayor Meyer?
Go ahead, council member.
Yeah, I just have a comment, I guess, that I think we are required to, at some point, discuss, but this, because of the way Mandate 17 is written, when the state's new mandate goes into effect on the, well, actually the extension, I guess, didn't go into effect. But anyway, since we have that 10-day pause on any mandates, technically we won't be in compliance with the state mandates. We'll still be on the old method until we either discuss it and vote or 10 days pass. We could avoid that if the manager was to make a mandate that says we're going with the state, on the 6th along with the state, and if we wanted to back out of that or change that next Wednesday, we could. But I think not doing anything, we're technically out of alignment with the new travel mandate for 10 days. Isn't that correct, Manager?
Yes, it's up to 10 days. So the duration of our out of alignment, if you will, would just be between Saturday, when this rule goes into effect, or the mandate goes into effect, and Wednesday. And given that anyone who's traveling has to self-quarantine for 72 hours anyway, we're not talking about a lot of time. So if council were to say on Wednesday, we agree to go forward with the state's health mandate, what we're talking, let's see, Saturday to Sunday to Monday. So we're out of compliance for 2 days at the most. And if
that needs to be on the agenda unless you intend to do your own mandate that says we're going into compliance with it. So it needs to be on that agenda for Wednesday, is what I'm saying.
Right. So the way it works is that it is automatically goes into that 10-day, up to 10 days, but until council takes action. And so there's going to be a 2-day delay if you wait until next Wednesday to agree.
Just needs to be on the agenda.
Yes.
It will be. Thank you.
Yeah, Susan's also writing it down and thumbs up, shaking her head a bunch. So it's on our agenda. Any other council member future agenda items?
Councilman Baylor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I believe Dr. Sanders said they were more than ready to go with the state mandate. ready to act on that and support of that. And then on a future agenda, our regular city council agenda, I think we need to start getting back to some of our city business. And our new CFO has some experience with investing, and maybe we can get back to taking a look at who we have our permanent fund with, and maybe there's some changes or looking at other options. So it might be good for the city manager and the CFO to kind of talk it over a little bit. Maybe when they're prepared to bring something to us and some suggestions and thoughts, they could do that. But I think we probably should get that back on to our future agenda for our regular meeting. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. It's item number 1 on our future agenda item, so Susan's making a note there. And any other council members, future agenda items?
Councilman Myers, this is Sherman.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to echo Councilman Baylor's. That was on my radar. I think we could probably start to just knock away at some of these items on the pending agenda, and that would be the first one I would tackle.
And this is Helen. I'm just going to let you know that Ken has already dug deep into these arenas, especially any contracts that we have, any investment kind of guidance. He's looking into that. So he's well on his way to having that available to you.
Okay, any other council members? All right, hearing none, the next item is audience participation. Again, for anyone that's listening out there, that phone number is 253-6202. And there is a delay on YouTube versus what's live here. So if you hear something different that's playing on YouTube than what you're hearing, that's normal. So just keep calling that line, and doesn't look like we have anybody. But if someone does call in while we're doing our council comments, we'll just go back to it. And did I interrupt someone there?
This is Barb Jewell. I can call in on the line if that would be more appropriate, or if I could take the opportunity to comment as an audience member.
You can just stay on the line that you're on and have an audience comment.
Thank you. I wanted to start by saying how much I appreciate all the hard work of the council and the administration over the last several months, taking care of day-to-day business while managing the additional workload of the COVID-19 response. I know that all of you have put in enormous amounts of additional hours, and I am greatly appreciative as a community member. Additionally, I wanted to express my surprise on the decision on the mill rate. As I mentioned in the public comment, I'm surprised that the council chose to not access an additional revenue option, which would not have increased anyone's property taxes. They just would have kept them the same. And for an average savings of probably about $250 a year, the council's chosen not to take advantage of revenue that's stable while facing really unstable revenue projections in other arenas. So I just wanted to make that comment again. The last comment I wanted to make is that I know calling in either as an audience participant or as someone giving a report, it would be much easier if there was some video attached to the meeting. I understand the difficulty of participating, and I'm so grateful that so many people have been able to call in, but wanted to urge you to consider some kind of video component with your meetings, since we are looking at needing to take care of business in this socially distanced way for the next several months. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
All right, thank you for commenting, Barb. See here, check to see if we have anybody else calling in. It doesn't seem like we do, but the mayor just walked in the room. So I'm going to put him on the spot here and let him know where we're at. We're just on audience participation, and if you wanted to say a couple things for your manager report, you're welcome to before we go to council comments.
I just want to mention for the record, I had a work-related conflict tonight, so I was staff for a CEC board meeting. The staff who was going to do that wasn't able to attend tonight. So as far as mayor's report, I don't have a lot to add, except we did, on behalf of the city, reach out to our leadership, our congressional delegation, President Trump, and our governor, and thank them for the federal and state support that we've had through the COVID-19 process, and for supporting a competing ability of competing sometimes objectives of keeping the community safe and yet having an opportunity to fish and maintain our livelihoods. So we just reached out and did that today. Other than that, I don't have a lot to add on a mayor's report unless there's any questions.
Any questions from council?
I don't have any questions. This is Councilman Baylor. I don't have any questions, but I guess a question, suggestion, and our communication with the public seems to be very steady, and it's just the way it is. But I just had a thought sitting here listening to this. What if we had, it could be anybody's phone, a city phone, give out that number and send them out.
We're having a hard time hearing you, Tom.
So everybody in the last week.
Hey, Tom, you're breaking up. Maybe if you're moving around, you could stay in one spot.
Oh, yeah, about 4,000 miles away.
Oh.
So what part of that? I'll start again. So I'm wondering about just using a phone right there. Somebody calls in the number. If they've got a question, hold the phone to the microphone. Would we all be able to hear that? And there wouldn't be any delay, and it might work until we get a better system.
I'm going to let Jason respond to that. We have been having, I will share with everyone, this COVID situation has created a high level of awareness about the inadequacies of our telephone system and our public communication vehicles. That is one of our top priorities that will be presented to council, is if this continues into the future, what do we need here in our city to help us make sure that people have the opportunity to provide public comment in a good way, not delayed way, and that we don't have the communication issues that we've been having. So Jason has been tasked with that, and he can at least tell you where things are at.
Yeah, so basically what we're looking at is the upload for YouTube. We have it on a 30-second delay, specifically because our bandwidth can't necessarily accommodate an actual live stream where there's maybe 2 to 3 seconds of delay. And so no matter what kind of solution we go with, there is going to be some delay. It may not be a full 30-second delay, and we could certainly dial back the delay and turn the quality down to as low as it can go and see how good it comes out. But yeah, we're definitely looking at video solutions like Barb mentioned. We're just trying to find the right solution rather than finding something that's short-term. We want something that's going to work 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, and do everything that we need it to do, for the future, not for, the next 3 months and then have to come up with something different. So.
And maybe if I can add to that too, maybe when you're looking into some of these solutions, having a number that people could call in and just listen to the live meeting might be an option. I know with a lot of those online video type meetings, there's also a call-in option, just, I don't know, throwing out there, I guess, what I've seen.
And I think one of the issues has been the security of the line and the ability to keep it from being interrupted by disruptors. And so that that because we're a public entity, we're an easy target. So it isn't like a family Zoom meeting, unfortunately. We have to be cognizant of the potential threats to the live feed, and so we have good minds working on a solution, and fortunately we have the CARES resources to help us create that solution that will carry us into the future, assuming that this kind of communication is not going to be abnormal in the future.
Okay, this is Councilman Baylor, and I wasn't trying to be critical of anybody. I know you're all trying your best and working, but I guess I was looking at really a basic, simple solution, and that is call in on a cell phone and hold the phone to the microphone, and they would hear just like all of us are talking on the phone. But whatever you guys want to do is fine with me.
All right, yeah, there's some comment about the audio feedback, so I think they're on the solution and hopefully can get an answer to the council and public.
Yeah, I just add it is a really good point, and being a part of another organization, the city also has way higher standards for allowing and encouraging and allowing public access. That makes it difficult, but you still have to be able to accommodate executive sessions and be secure, like Helen said. So, but it's a very valid point and one that we should work on. But it helps the public understand that the city can't just be like all the other organizations that can host a fairly straightforward meeting, because we have to accommodate a lot legally and to allow public access.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to council comments. I don't think anybody from the public has called in during that time. Haven't had anybody, so start off with Councilmember Allison.
Yeah, just thanks everybody for everything they've been doing. I don't have any other comments at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Baylor.
No comment. Thanks, everybody.
Councilmember Guard.
No comment. Thanks, everybody, for everything they're doing.
Councilmember Gleason.
Just thank the staff and medical staff.
Councilmember Sherman.
Yes, thanks, Councilman Meyer. I just realized as we were discussing all this that we haven't really even welcomed our finance director, and I was greatly encouraged to hear the city manager say all the work he has been digging into. I know it's a difficult position, and I appreciate that, and so I'm looking forward to moving it forward and maybe studying or kind of working. I'm looking forward to actually working in the budget process in the coming year. That's a weird statement. All for me.
All right, thank you. And same comments to me on the same line as Sherman. You know, today's the first day that I saw him in the room, even though he's probably over 30 feet away from me. Said, "Who's that?" So it's definitely different when you just hear someone on the phone instead of in person. And glad to also hear them digging into things. It's probably very difficult coming into a new job during a pandemic. So really appreciate all the work that you have been doing, literally behind the scenes, because we haven't been able to come in and see it. So thank you. All right, and then next item on the agenda is our executive session. So I'll go ahead and give time for us to get off YouTube. And Susan, did you want to do another call-in line, or should we use the same?
Why don't we move to go into it, and then I'll give everybody.
All right.
Somebody wants to make the motion.
I'll make the motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second?
Really,
Second.
you should state the whole.
Okay, and then for the record, we are moving into executive session to discuss the Sheridan Joyce land disposal negotiations, and it's a subject which is a matter of immediate knowledge of which to have a clearly and adverse effect to city finances. Any objection to moving into to that second? Councilmember Sherman?
No, none from me.
All right.
So council members, I'll text you guys a call-in number. Okay? So everybody hang up from this line.
Thank you.
Council, we're out of executive session now. The item discussed was recommendations from the city manager regarding Sheridan Joyce land disposal negotiations, a subject which is a matter the immediate knowledge of which would clearly have an adverse effects upon city finances. So at this time, we'll revert to unfinished business, item 13, city land disposal to Sheridan Joyce. And what is the will of council?
Mr. Mayor, I move to direct staff to proceed with no further negotiations beyond what has been offered, $30,000 or the appraisal price from a mutually agreed upon appraisal.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Guard, was that?
No, I think it was Allison.
Second, Councilman Allison. Vice Mayor Meyer, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, I think we have discussed this item a number of times, and after going through with staff about their process and how that was determined, I think that it would be for the best course of action is kind of doing things that we are doing. I think that the process that the city has is a good way of doing things without having to go and get an appraisal for every piece of land disposal, but with the option of having a land appraised at for the price. So I think right now we would really like this to work out for Sheridan to be able to get this property, but at this time, coming up with a price for the property, an appraisal might be the best option if our price that staff came up with was not agreed upon. So I think that our staff did a good job, and hopefully we can still make this work.
Okay. Councilman Allison, would you like to speak to your second?
Nope, Vice Mayor Meyer had it perfect, thank you.
So let me grab a list to go through council comments.
Jeez, was there one in there?
Well, I can start with Councilmember Gleason.
Councilmember Gleason.
Nothing really, except for that we did agree on a mutually agreed upon appraiser. So there's a little latitude there. So that's all.
Councilmember Sherman.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Councilmember Baylor.
No comment.
Councilmember Allison.
Nope, you said it fine, thank you.
All right. If nothing further, I think a roll call vote for item number 13.
Melina Meyer,
Yes.
David Allison,
Yes.
David Gleason,
Yes.
Ann Schaefer is absent. Jeff Guard,
Yes.
Tom Baylor,
Yes.
and Kathy Sherman.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any objection whatsoever? Okay, we're adjourned at 8:50. Thank you, council. Have a good evening.
Coming in, Tom.
Thank you.